Hey everybody, it's another episode of Movie Crunch that you're listening to, and it's going to be great. Sorry for not uploading something last Monday, as you know, because it's Movie Monday. Life happened.
Yeah.
So
It happened hard.
yeah, it happened pretty hard. It
And
hurts.
in the stomach.
Yeah,
Hard.
that's what at least for Nate and his girlfriend,
Yeah, it was.
which sucked.
It did.
But that's
lot.
neither here nor there. It's a new episode, and we are talking about Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yep.
Yes, LOTR, affectionately known sometimes.
Yes.
LOTR, Fellowship of the Ring. LOTR, Farer. Fotor.
Maybe not.
No,
Maybe you should just stop.
LOTR, Fotor. I don't know. But yeah, we're talking about that, and as of course on Movie Crunch, we analyze it. It's as in cinematography, writing, cinematography / directing, writing, and acting, and we also discuss our favorite scenes and discuss the ending of the movie. All right, so and we'll just go with writing right now. In case you really didn't know this, I mean, I really don't know who doesn't know this. The Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, the whole thing, was written by a man named J.R.R. Tolkien. Even The Hobbit was written by him, which is actually in theaters now.
Yep.
So, I've not read the original works. I've not even read The Hobbit yet. I want to read these, but I just haven't got around to it yet. Is it good?
Yeah.
I haven't read The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
I'm ashamed.
Oh my God! We didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Well, everyone knows who we are.
Well, for those who don't,
Okay.
We're the Titans, the mighty, mighty Titans.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
For those who don't, I'm Eric O'Donnell from Mild Mannered Geek.
What's up, everybody? Nate Schaffner here.
Hannah Sutter, hanging strong in the left side. Or the side.
And also check out Hannah's, before we start, check out Hannah's new show, Lady Parts.
Lady Parts.
Well, tell us about Lady Parts real quick.
It's all about female roles in film, and we're trying to bring some attention to women because, as you might know, the majority of the film industry is male dominated. So
Unfortunately.
you got to point out when the good ones come along, and
But believe me,
I'm here
folks,
for that.
Believe me, folks. The show is not as naughty as the title would lead you to believe.
But it could be in the
It's
future.
more.
I'm just kidding. I take it.
No, it's a great show.
Yeah, very good.
She's got one episode up right now. A new episode should be up in when?
Tomorrow, fried green tomatoes.
And
Awesome.
yes, Fragment. And then the previous one was A League of Their Own, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, definitely check those out. And if you want to learn any more about that stuff, and also check out my channel, My Manner Geek. But yeah, back to Lord of the Rings. And yeah, so Nate is the only one of us that's read these.
I haven't read all of them.
So you've not read Return of the King.
I have not read Return of the King.
Okay.
Which is arguably the best movie.
I haven't. I should clarify. I haven't finished Return of the King.
Okay.
I am in the process of reading it now.
Okay.
I have read the first two books. I've read The Hobbit. The Hobbit reads more like a children's book.
Yeah, that's what people say.
It's very good. The Lord of the Rings.
More adult.
It's when you translate a movie or a book to a movie.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and they did a very good job of being faithful to the books. You can make 2 or 3 arguments about why they put stuff in, why they left stuff out, why they put stuff in there that isn't even in the books in there. But overall, they're very faithful to the books.
Yeah. The only other things that I can remember offhand that I've heard of being pretty faithful to the books are Harry Potter, which again I've never read the books, but I have heard people say that they're pretty faithful. Am I right? Have you guys read Harry Potter?
Yeah, some movies are better than others, of course.
Of course.
I've never read the Harry Potter books.
But decently, yeah, pretty.
Okay. And the other one I can think of that I was really into was Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
That was a book?
It was a graphic novel, a series of graphic novels, 6 of them.
All right.
And the movie was written. The only reason it doesn't follow the 6th book is because the movie was written before the 6th book was finished, which I didn't agree with. But the movie was still good overall. But we're not talking about that movie.
Well, I mean, the other thing is too, with especially a book like Lord of the Rings, it's so the books are so detailed, and
Yeah.
It's got like 14 languages in it, doesn't it? I mean, he
Yeah.
created 14
Yeah,
of his
it's got
own
Elvish
languages.
and Mordor, the black
The
language,
black speech.
the black speech,
And
and there's 2 more, isn't there?
yeah,
There's Elfish, there's the black speech, and then there's
the dwarf
the
language.
dwarf language, and then there's
But
that's
the
it.
thing is that and I know we're just talking about the movies here, but anybody who's seen the movies know that as the movies progress, the Fellowship breaks and all the characters go off in different directions, and when you're doing something like that, you kind of have to
Ignore that door sound.
ignore the door sound, please. When you have to you have to kind of boil the story down to.
First of all, the light's on for a reason. I'm sorry, he'll keep opening the door here in our podcast. We're recording an audio
it's,
studio.
And interruptions.
Recording, not barge in. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like the on-air sign is on there for a reason.
But you have to kind of boil it down to the central story. And the central story is Frodo and Sam going to Mordor to destroy the Ring of Power. And when you talk about the side stories, you kind of have to go, okay, how does, Merry and Pippin with how do Merry and Pippin's story affect Frodo and Sam's story, and vice versa, and how does, because you don't want to stray from the main story, and they like I said, they did a really good job.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job, from what I've heard, at least with the book, of pulling out the battle scenes, and keeping. Yeah. I mean, it's a movie. Ultimately, we have to hold the audience's attention.
Yeah.
And the book's a lot of traveling.
There's a lot of walking. A lot of walking in those books.
You're gonna have to boil it down to the things that will keep the plot moving.
Yeah. I agree. And the
thing is that even the walking is cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
The scene. I mean, the like extreme wide shots really
help
with that.
Help with the if you're really into cinema like us 3 are, you're more apt to watch a movie in a different way than an average moviegoer would.
Yeah.
So when regular average people who are not big into film and into camera work as much as like you are, as much as we are, or if you're watching this podcast, listening to this podcast as you are, when more people just see them walking, they just see them walking. When we watch it, we're like, look at that camera, sweet. Look at that camera. That's a really nice shot of you get them in this giant scenery. You see it like that, and it makes it easier. I think it makes it easier for a cinema person to watch one of these movies.
Yeah, well, you realize what is causing the effect for like the average moviegoer. If you're taking a huge extreme wide shot, that's going to make you feel very small and your journey very big.
Right? Yeah. And again, like with the walking, there's important dialogue there. It's not just it's not just battle scenes that keep the story moving. You learn about the characters.
And there's environmental
dangers.
Obstacles.
There's environmental hazards.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those movies that will hold your attention.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Well, I mean, we had the courtesy of watching the 3-hour version.
3.5.
3.5-hour version, and even for a guy who loves movies, man, that takes a little bit of discipline at least.
I watched it twice in the same day.
Not in the same day.
Same day.
You gave me credit for that. You were like, "That's impressive."
But
it is.
But no, and not to say it was hard to. It was just like you really get a sense of all the detail they went into.
Yeah.
And there is a huge amount of detail in this movie. And we're kind of talking about shots and writing at the same time, which is okay.
They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand, really. But with the extended cut, you really get a sense of just this world, which everybody has this fantasy that style of fantasy was stemmed from medieval times. But I feel like it kind of nowadays it's whatever when people think of D&D or Dungeons and Dragons, they think it's Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Like average people who don't know what D&D is, they consider it like Lord of the Rings or like Skyrim or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what I like about the writing is that it's not overly Christianity thumping you over the head kind of thing.
Yeah, is it supposed to be a metaphor for Christianity?
No.
Oh, I was saying I did not get that.
But every single time people analyze movies, they go there, and you could go there if you wanted to. but
in a sense, I guess.
I guess.
I'm having
I'm
trouble.
not going to go there because
Yeah.
we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
But my point is that it doesn't do that. It doesn't try to get
Oh, wait, I see
overly
what you mean.
symbolic.
Right.
Yeah.
It's character based.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is it seems like each character has like a divine providence or like
Yeah.
a fate, like they're fated to be there
Well,
at that time.
yeah, they're tied together in some way.
Yeah.
There's a reason that
They're all together.
they're all together to make the fellowship.
The
Yes.
thing that I like about the writing most is that it's like obviously they didn't take the book and
Swap it.
Like,
and yeah,
And-
they
and-
didn't take
and-
the
and
word for
tape
word
it to a script.
right. But the writing is very Tolkien-esque, if you will. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's like for example, in Moria, you know, Boromir says, you know, what is this new devilry? And Gandalf says, you know, a Balrog, a demon of the ancient world. That's not from the book. Like the writers wrote that, and I'm like, okay, that's just it's very fantasy, Tolkien. That's when you hear that kind of a line, you don't go, they would never say that. Like that's a really good testament to
Yeah.
the people that were involved
And
with this movie.
I love fantasy writing. I
Yeah.
love it. Like the way that they would talk, because it's based off like Old English and stuff.
It is.
The
Yeah.
way they would talk back then is so eloquent and just easy to listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, because they don't have contractions. They say every word as it's supposed to be
Yeah.
and say it clearly,
Right.
which is what I learned when I acted in the Renaissance Fair. We're not allowed to use contractions. We're barely allowed to use any modern speech at all. Like I remember one guy named Wayland. Hi, Wayland, if you're listening. He said, "Do not say the word awesome unless you are truly awestruck."
Yeah.
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 He made that really clear.
Yeah.
Like, and because he's like, that word is thrown around so much. So, and if you're in character and you have to say when you want to say the word awesome, you have to make sure that you act truly awestruck when
Yeah.
you say that, because otherwise, that someone during that period would never say it. And you feel that when you watch this movie, all of the characters talk like they're supposed to.
Right.
Especially I could listen to Ian McKellen just as
Yes.
Gandalf tell me like he could tell me that I'm gonna like. He could tell me like you fucked up with your girlfriend.
Would you like a sandwich?
Yeah. And I would be like, yeah, man. What else do
Yes.
you? Yeah. And
Yes.
also watch this guy do Ian McKellen impressions. But that's beside the point.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, it's just the writing is just really good on it. Let's move on to a little bit of the shots. We touched on the shoot. We touched on the
Oh,
cinematography. Let's talk about the cinematography and directing a little bit. Just all the sweeping, like we said at the beginning, all the shots of them walking, just all those
Yeah.
pans and those.
The helicopter shots
Oh,
that they
yeah.
have
Yeah.
are incredible.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, I know we're going to go into special effects later, but the mix of shots
Mhm.
with elements, different kinds of elements.
You
Yeah.
really get the
Special effects.
feel of and the sense of the journey and the hardships that they're
Yeah.
going to endure.
Yeah, and even though this is, for those of you who don't know, even this is filmed in New Zealand. All these movies are. Even The Hobbit, they're all filmed in New Zealand.
Yep.
And even though you would know, like, oh, this is New Zealand, it feels like it's not. Like the way they shoot it and the way everything is shot and the way they use everything.
A variety of landscapes.
A huge variety of landscapes.
And all of the actors lived in New Zealand for like a year and a half.
Yeah. So it feels like Middle Earth. Like it
Yeah, it
feels
does.
like it's somewhere
It does.
else. And to do that with just being able to record and just a couple camera footage and a little bit of special effects thrown in, which we'll get to, is really great. Is like really just truly genius.
Yeah, and they had more crews than usual, right? I
Mhm.
mean, for shooting.
Yeah.
Because they had so many different set locations and,
Yeah.
being on location. But I just think the way that they're able to go from those big shots to such intimate shots,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And to not feel forced or
No.
anything and to not feel like you're being suffocated. Yeah. Yeah. It's just really good.
And I mean, Peter Jackson did horror movies before Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
like B horror movies.
And now his name is so, it's funny. Peter Jackson's name is so synonymous with like epic fantasy adventures now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Guillermo del Toro has that too, but his are more like twisted.
Right.
And if you would compare him, Tolkien, I'm sorry, Peter Jackson is more like Tolkien, really, and Guillermo del Toro is more like H.P. Lovecraft, in a sense, with their movie making, with the
Right.
movies they decide to do, in a sense. And when you think of Peter Jackson, you just think of these big epic movies, like not only Lord of the Rings, you think of freaking
King Kong.
King Kong,
It's literally epic.
literally epic,
Like,
Well, the thing
and
is that
big things.
I don't think you would like
Before this, no,
before this.
No.
When you mention Peter Jackson, you want to think,
no,
really, he's going to do Lord of the Rings? Really?
Yeah.
And then you see it and you're like, okay, now I know why they did it. Because I'm telling you, when that shot of after Saruman and Gandalf fight,
oh
and
yeah,
Gandalf has the little butterfly or whatever it is.
I think it was a moth or
the
something.
moth
oh yeah.
in his hand, and it flies off, and then the camera just swoops down the tower. You really get the sense of depth and how tall the building is,
Oh,
and
yeah.
what they're doing underground, and
Yeah.
oh my god.
And then his reliance on the mini sets is so cool. Like
Oh
the,
yeah.
the miniatures.
Yeah.
Because they were so detailed,
Yeah.
he was able to get shots of like close-ups
Mm-hmm.
of the miniatures and use them
Yeah.
without on a big screen, and nobody knew the difference.
Right.
Such a dying art too, miniatures like that.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
again, I've said it before on the show.
8-foot miniatures. But
Yeah. Yeah, I've said it before on the show. I am so for practical effects for anything.
Yes.
Like, I'm a big supporter of that. But that's another time to rant about practical effects. Go Jim Henson, it's great to shot. But yeah, it's the way he uses those, and just the way that when there was that one scene where where it was the whole inside the dwarf
yeah,
stronghold. Just
Yeah.
that all those, and it was like just swooping in and out, and like even those long shots when the Balrog is revealed.
Yeah.
Like
that
first of all,
is incredible.
yeah, it was you're just like glued.
Right.
First of all, you just hear and see a light, and the camera's always zoomed so far back.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's
That's
really
gonna be big.
it's gonna
take
be
up
a
that whole
big-
frame.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
without even telling you, you knew this thing was going to be massive just by the way that the camera was always
And
positioned
that's
when
a
they
horror
went
movie
back.
thing. I mean, leaving
Yeah.
space in the frame
Yeah.
for
Right.
something to come in.
Yeah, usually it's hard. Usually, I find it weird when horror movie directors try to do something like serious like that. When not quote unquote like complete different genre. Like, I'm sorry, I love Sam Raimi's horror movies, but I did not like his interpretation of Spider-Man. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think he was the right fit for a director for that.
Arguable. I mean, there's
It's
a lot of
arguable,
ruling
but
for
it's
it.
just my
It
opinion.
is.
It's just my opinion. But
But I see what you mean. Like when
Yeah.
you're transitioning from one genre
to the other, it's you keep what you learn from that genre, and sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it really does, and when it really does, it shows like hugely.
Yeah, the battle scenes especially really show his background, if you will. You know,
Mhm.
they're very gory. They're very
Mm-hmm.
detailed.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Or like
grotesque.
even just other elements like when the orcs are being created and they're,
Oh
Yeah.
God,
they're
I
coming
wanna
out of
vomit.
the muck.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean
man.
that's horror right there.
That's horror
The
movie. Yes.
Uruk-hai.
Oh, that is
Yes.
that is a
Oh man, And
gruesome scene.
Speaking of perfect segue to the actor/characters of this movie. Perfect segue.
I was watching a lot of. I know Hannah, you and I have watched a lot of the behind the scenes.
it's captivating. Like
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially Peter Jackson, has said that the essence of Tolkien has been captured in the performance of Ian McKellen as Gandalf the Grey.
Oh yeah. Oh
Absolutely.
God, absolutely my absolute favorite character,
And
favorite actor. in the
I
movie.
actually prefer Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White
I prefer Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf
because
the White. I do.
I think it's a better acting. Nothing against Gandalf the White, but I think Gandalf the Grey, you get a better acting performance from Ian McKellen.
From Ian McKellen, yeah.
He's wiser. I mean, he's
and jovial at
Yeah.
times. And
So
like a grandfather, but
Yeah.
also a wizard. But-
Yeah. I'm just biased because I think wizards are like the coolest thing in fantasy, like and the coolest thing in that genre. Like if I was to play D&D, I would be a mage or a
So
wizard.
the wizard fight totally.
So the wizard fight was just like, oh,
This
Yeah.
is all
this is
And
awesome.
I really think that
Wizard
that
battle.
Gandalf is the greatest performer to be in McKellen.
You could argue Magneto though.
You could argue.
You could argue Magneto.
I prefer.
Those are totally different types.
But there are
of
totally
so
two different
it's
types of
almost-
characters.
Yeah, that's true.
So but they're totally two different types of characters.
And I'll tell you what, I never. When you think of Elijah Wood, you don't think of
Yeah,
like
Frodo.
Frodo, but
Yeah.
he did it very well.
Oh yeah.
I think it's his purity. Like he just
Yeah,
seems
it's his
so
innocence.
just good to his core.
Yeah,
I
his eyes too, man.
They're
Like,
so blue, and
they're
that's how
just-
blue they actually are.
Yeah, that's no, that's no, again that's
like
no
when he
special
cries,
effects.
it's like 100 angels crying.
Yeah, it's,
I read somewhere that somebody said that Elijah Wood took the part in Lord of the Rings to make up for Flipper, which was I thought was kind of harsh, but that
Actors take roles when they can get them, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes
And-
there's
you
no
gotta-
shame in that.
no,
There's no
There's
shame
really
in
not.
that.
and Merry and Pippin, Dominic Monaghan and I can't Billy Boyd. I mean, I refer to them as the twins just because they're
like Harry Potter. Just saying,
They were really a lot like the Weasley twins from Harry
well,
Potter.
I mean
they're the
they're
comic relief.
they're,
that-
they're,
They're
the
the
comic,
comic relief.
relief, but their chemistry on screen is just so natural
yeah.
Yeah.
that you believe that they are
that they're
they're
best friends.
Yeah,
they're
that
brothers.
they're really brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then the relationship between Frodo and Sam is a totally different kind of chemistry, but it's
Yeah.
the heart and soul
Sean
of the
Astin.
movie.
Yeah.
Sean Astin, I mean,
He's the true heart of the movie.
I
he
actually remember when the Academy Awards came out and Return of the King just swept
Everything.
the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
A lot of people were actually upset that Sean Astin did not get a supporting actor nomination.
He
And
should have.
I'll argue that. I mean, he should have.
should've.
I mean,
I agree.
Frodo would not have gotten there without Sam.
No,
But
he
it is
wouldn't
an
have.
understated. It's a weirdly understated kind of role, even though
Yeah.
it's arguably the most important
Yeah.
one.
Come on, Samwise, keep up.
You don't really hear anyone. You always hear like, oh, Gandalf or oh, Frodo or oh,
Mr. Frodo.
the other the dwarf dude. I can't remember his name.
Gimli.
Gimli.
And then you hear the king dude that I can't remember his name.
Aragorn.
Yeah, you always hear about those guys, but you never and not everyone's just like, oh, that Sam guy. 'Cause it was so underrated, but it was really a great performance. Like you really believed that he wanted to keep Frodo safe.
Yeah.
Like truly believe it. Almost to a point of I'm just throwing this out there. Almost to a point of like a romantic way.
In a way.
In a way.
There were a lot of people who hadn't read the books, who just saw the movies, who kind of thought that there was something romantic going on, and
Not that there's anything wrong.
not that there's
With
anything
that.
wrong with that.
I
but
mean,
it's-
I personally think
I
that'd be
personally
cool.
don't get that vibe, but
me neither. But
it's just such a deep friendship.
Yeah,
that he-
personal
such a deep
friendship.
friendship. Yeah.
that their bond, and you know what? Can I just say, like, I think we all could
Use the same wise.
use a Sam in our lives, and
We could all use the
I
same
hope
wise.
that I've been a Sam to someone, and
Yeah.
I mean he's such a good
It's a
friend.
good
and it's
guy.
from the second that Gandalf tells him,
Yeah.
and we
He's-
don't. I don't know that we even hear him say it, do we?
What?
Sam
When
wise.
Gandalf says
You protect him.
he asked him to protect him.
No, he does
Because he was waiting outside, he
Yeah.
was eavesdropping.
Yeah.
He was already protecting him.
I ain't dropping no eaves, sir.
First of all, when Gandalf tells you to do something,
You do it.
you do it.
Someone
and
asks you if you're a god.
you say yes. If Ian McKellen as Gandalf the Grey says, "Go do something," you're gonna do it.
But it really is from that second.
He's-
I've thought of a better use for you, and Sam is
And that's
right
it.
there by his side,
Yeah,
no matter what.
yeah, and then freaking. Let's talk about the bad wizard dude,
Sauron.
Sauron. And Hannah, you wanted to say something about the names of the two
I
baddies?
was getting some tongue twisted right there because it's like
They're both S's.
Well, they sound
Sauron
super
is the
similar.
guy who made the rings, the most evil force in the world, and then you have like Saruman, who is the evil wizard.
First of all, Sauron, I'm pretty sure was a Digimon back in the day.
Why?
That's neither here nor there.
Because
do we really need?
Well, because all the Digimon were named Mon after. There was Puppet Mon, and
God.
so it just sounds like a Digimon name. But that's neither here nor
Oh.
there. That's just me being a '90s.
But yes,
kid.
I did get a little confused on that.
Well, when
Yeah.
we were watching the bonus features, Christopher Lee actually met Professor Tolkien.
Yeah.
How awesome is
Well,
that?
He
he-
did.
and-
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
And Peter Jackson said he didn't have to say a thing to Christopher Lee because he read the book so many times. He said he reads it once per
He
year.
reads it once a year. The Lord of the Rings.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
Wow.
he knew exactly who that character
Yes.
was.
Oh, nice. That was the guy that played the High Elf, right?
No, it's
Sauron?
Saruman.
Oh,
Saruman.
Saruman. That was Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know he read them once a year.
Yeah.
He is really quite powerful because he has these brief scenes, but
You can sense his power, like
Right.
in that.
the fact that he's beating the crap out of Gandalf
The Grey.
alone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about Christopher Lee is that he's done a lot of movies,
Yeah.
but like so few of them have been good. So you kind of
Like
like
he may have been good in them, but
He
the
may have
movie-
been
the
good in them,
movie,
but the
the,
mo- but
in
the
the
movie-
core wasn't good.
so it's kind of like, but I mean, he's obviously a very good actor,
He's really good.
and but yeah, and then John Rhys Davies is Gimli.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so pure and just so.
First of all, second favorite character in fantasy epics are dwarves because they're like badass elves. They're like badass gnomes.
Oh, the way he drags that axe around, man,
Oh,
it's so
yeah.
funny.
I want a beard like that. It's so awesome. If I could grow a beard like that, I'd keep it. It'd be awesome.
Well, and I think it's funny that he's the one who's in awe of Kate Blanchett's character. What is it, Galadriel?
Yeah, and he's like,
Galadriel?
no elf's gonna make me infatuated.
Well,
And
in the book, when that moment happens in the movie, in the book,
Yeah.
Gimli actually falls in love with Galadriel.
well, you can see it in the movie
Well,
almost,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
I mean, all he wants are 2 hairs off her head.
Yeah.
He gave her 3,
Yeah.
Or, yeah,
and
hair.
And-
you know,
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say there was just first of all, I want to talk about
Legolas.
not Legolas. Well, yeah, let's talk about Legolas.
I want to talk about ladies. All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
I wanted to like transition like that. There were some actual scary parts by talking about Bilbo when he does that face, but then what
Oh,
scared me
yeah,
more
yeah.
was the lady
Yeah,
When
that's
she-
what I was thinking of when
Yeah.
you said that.
when she goes all dark
Oh, yeah,
mage.
yeah,
First of all, Kate Blanchett is just she has such a pure, like,
Oh, I know.
sophisticated
Yeah.
air about
Oh,
her.
I know.
So for her to go, like, dark and be all this huge,
Dark
it was like when you
mage,
saw
basically.
Ursula the first time as a kid.
Oh
You're
yeah.
like, oh my god.
She's so graceful.
And then afterwards, she's like, "Huh, I avoided that temptation. I'm proud of myself."
Yeah, yeah. She brushes it off like it was nothing. Like she literally made Frodo crap his tunic, and then she comes back after being this big dark mage, and she's like, "I got over that.
Whew.
That happened."
I'm
So-
a ring too.
and
Ah,
Frodo's like, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah.
yeah.
He doesn't say a word, and she's like, "So that happened."
So that happened.
Sorry.
I'm gonna give you guys some gifts now. Carry
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Orlando Bloom. That was Lord of the Rings was his first movie.
Was it?
He went straight.
Yeah.
He went straight from film school, as a student in film school, to being in Lord of the Rings.
Talk about a good gig.
And
That
I
is
was-
a badass role. For
It
your first
was.
film.
Oh, it is, man. Like,
And-
you see the kids getting out of film school, and it's like, I'm going on a commercial,
I'm-
or like, I'm going to go work in a studio. Maybe I'll get an acting job.
What are you
Or,
gonna do? I'm going to New Zealand.
I'm going to New Zealand to film
To
Lord
film
of the Rings.
for a year and a half.
To film for a
A
year and a
trilogy.
half. A trilogy. I'm going to be an elf that shoots a bow,
Yeah.
and it's going
Extremely well.
to be
Yeah,
extremely
extremely.
well. And I'm going to. So basically, I'm a badass.
You know what's odd is like for a lot of the movie, I kind of forgot about him, and then there's that part. I think it's the last battle where he's just like laying in
Mowing
on.
down.
Laying in on
with
dudes with his arrows.
I'm like, how many arrows are in that quiver?
Yeah.
He's like, just boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, they put him in the second Hobbit movie for just the sole fact that he's Legolas.
Yeah.
Just the sole fact that he's Legolas. He wasn't in the original Hobbit. Am I correct in saying that? He was not in the.
He was
Legolas.
not in the Hobbit.
Yeah, so they just put him in there just because. Oh, it's Legolas.
And Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn.
Yeah.
Like again, we
Perfect.
were. I mean,
Perfect choice.
yeah, and again, we were watching the features, and he had never read the books, but his son did,
Mm-hmm.
and like he was so excited that his dad could have the opportunity to play Aragorn, and he was like, "Dad, you gotta do this," and he took it because his son.
That's so awesome, though. When you,
Yeah.
I feel like that's like people
That's
who do
good.
that should get like the best
And he
parent
was
award.
so good in it's just.
Well, we have to get talking to special effects
Yeah.
and stuff, but I do just want to mention how much I love the actor and character of Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No better person to cast than that. Than what? Who?
I think it was Ian Holm.
Ian Holm. No better person to cast.
Yeah.
For that role. Just that, because it's when he's not all face. He's so like just a caring old uncle.
Yeah.
And you
almost
who goes to the pub.
Who goes to the pub and just can tell you story after story after story. And I love how they're linking. I love how they're really doing their job to link the Hobbit movie and these movies.
Right.
So much so that I actually want to go back and watch them all.
Well,
after the Hobbit.
We were talking when we were watching the movie. We were talking about how, in the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, there's knocking on the door, and he's like, Frodo. He's calling for Frodo. He's like, where is that boy? Clearly, he's forgotten that he sent Frodo off to meet Gandalf. So he's so caught up in writing his book and all these maps that sometimes he forgets doing things. And then,
But let's quickly move on to special effects, which, God, this movie, so much great.
Just the repertoire that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean,
so many different kinds of tools that they use.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you read the books, it's just one of those things where you go, how?
Yeah.
How are you going to do this?
Yeah. And then they do it.
And then you see the movie and you're like, okay, that must have taken them like 3 seconds to pull off. Because it looks so good.
Yeah. It was.
I mean, it's the. I'm going to talk about this later, but the whole Moria, everything in Moria.
Oh, I know. Just how it's so
looks spectacular, and
it's a legit place where you see Moria, and you're like, I want to retire there.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, and they did that one actually on the lot, right? For a lot of that, it was like a combination of lot and then.
I think so. I'm not sure.
But the lighting is perfect in that.
Oh
too.
yeah,
the way they.
Yeah, because it's because in Mora, if you guys don't know what it's supposed to be, it's the high elf city, and
dwarf.
It's the dwarf city. I'm sorry, and
it's okay.
And it's just a beautiful place, and the way this. And when you read a book that doesn't, when you read a regular novel, you picture what you think it looks like in your head.
Yeah.
And
you don't know whether it's going to be your interpretation.
Yeah, and it usually is not really ever your interpretation. Whenever you see a book, whenever you see a movie put into it, as a based off of film, based off a movie based off a book, but in a sense, it was able to capture at least the spirit of everybody's vision of these places, of just all of these different areas, not just in Emora, just all of these different places. I feel like it captured the spirit of whatever you were thinking of.
The other thing I like too is that you mentioned practical effects early on.
Yeah.
The thing that I like about is that they only used digital effects when they needed to.
Yes.
Like all of the, for example, when they're traveling, all of the shots, that's not CG. They're shooting their helicopter shots on New Zealand. They're running. They're walking.
They're going through the muck.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's them, and that's the genius of what Peter Jackson did with these movies is that, okay, we obviously can't create a 30-foot tall Balrog in real life, so
make it digitally.
but I mean they only used digital when they needed to, and I mean it makes it more believable.
Yeah, all the skill work they did just to make the hobbits feel authentic.
Mm-hmm.
They used what's the technical term? Short people.
Mm-hmm.
They used. I want to be careful. I don't want to offend
little people.
Short people, but
Yeah, and even but when they would show Frodo and Sam and Pippin next to regular sized characters, they would make sure to make sure like, oh, these guys are remember they're hobbits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's they always do it, and they always take special care to do it. Even they would show that the dwarves are slightly taller than
Yeah.
hobbits.
Yeah.
So
Every shot was really well thought out,
Yeah.
just to make sure that they kept that authenticity, so
Yeah.
that you're in the story not thinking about something else.
yeah,
But I also like, how I was talking about the miniatures, how they would do the camera work within those miniatures to avoid having to do special effects. Like that scene with the mine.
yeah. I was
That's
going to talk about that.
that's a miniature, and that's just a camera going through the miniature, and they added the bats for the special effect.
That's awesome.
Which yeah.
The mine, yeah,
So the
Yeah,
bats,
that's right.
yeah.
So the bats are the
Or
element
digital.
that's digital, but then they bring that through a real miniature.
That's crazy.
The detailing on it was so
It's-
good.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
What I really love, like the makeup in this movie, for there's really no makeup for the elves, but for the orcs in Mordor,
I mean,
it's so grotesque. It's beautiful.
that's where Peter Jackson's background. comes
Yeah,
into
that's
play.
where his background horror comes into play
Yeah,
because
Yeah, and the bad guys, he really.
oh man, he made them
Your
ugly
God.
as sin.
Oh.
He made them just ugly as sin.
Saruman. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
And
Or like the horsemen that are chasing.
oh,
him. Those are-
almost the Dementors.
They are like Dementors,
It
okay?
was
They're
swords.
Soul suckers.
The
ring wraiths.
the Nazgul.
Yeah, the ring wraiths.
Yeah.
Those things, first of all, were scary as hell.
Scary as
Yeah.
hell. They don't have faces.
And all they say is, Frodo. Oh,
Shire.
Shire.
He's like, oh, that's down the street.
That's
Take
Yeah.
a left and a right.
Yeah. And then the special effect, I think my favorite special effect in this movie was when Frodo would put the ring on, and he would go in, where he would turn invisible to the real world, and then
Yeah.
he would go into this pseudo world that was just all
Like heat vision.
messed, like heat X-ray vision or something.
And they want it like it feels painful. I
It-
mean, you don't want to be there
No,
either.
you don't want to be there. You feel that he's hurting when he's in there, and you're watching this happen, and you don't want to be there either.
It's just like, take it off.
you're-
Like, how long do we have to be here?
Yeah,
Right.
it's hurting. It's in a sense it hurts your eyes, but it's not the way that you would want to not look. But in a sense, you're just like, this has to not feel good at all.
Yeah.
And then that scene where you see the true form of the ring race.
Yeah, that's
That-
a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
man, you see
I
the
think I
lich,
blocked that out
The
until
witch-
you
the
said
witch,
it.
the Witch King
The-
of
you see
Witch
the-
King of Angmar.
the Witch King of Angmar,
Yeah.
and he's just like reaching for Frodo.
Oh
'Cause
God.
It's like, first of all, Frodo, how do you not know they can see you? And second of all, like, he just stands there and takes the sword and the sword or whatever. And then that makeup that they have when he's almost turning into a ring wraith.
Oh,
That was just awesome and
when he's
grotesque.
super like
Oh,
pale.
yeah, yeah.
When he's super
That's-
pale
His,
and
and his eyes
Speaking
are
of
going.
which-
yeah,
So Arwen, right? Liv,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler. I thought she was great in that role
She was
because she's
so-
supposed to be so gorgeous.
so
and
beautiful. Yeah.
She is, and she
Yeah.
speaks the language really well.
Yeah.
Hearing her speak Elvish is so.
I'd like to go to sleep to that.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Exactly.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's like a glass of warm milk.
yeah.
It
You know,
is.
it's just like, okay.
But then by the same token, she has the power to heal somewhat
Yeah.
and also to manipulate a river to turn into horses
See,
to
it's
swallow.
funny that you mentioned that
Yeah,
because in the
how
book, that
fucking
wasn't
powerful
her.
is
In the book, the elves did that power from
I'm glad it was her.
Yeah, I'm glad it was her.
from Rivendell. The elves summoned that power, and it wasn't Arwen who came to save Frodo in the book.
Wow.
I
Sorry.
like that it's Arwen.
Yeah.
Besides,
So did I. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm just saying,
But yeah. Well, let's discuss the ending really quickly.
yeah.
And to be fair, there really is the movies don't end here.
No.
These are trilogy, and they're set up to be a trilogy, and it's good that they are. And what I love about these movies is that when one movie ends and then you watch the other one, it's like your mom or dad was reading you a bedtime story and you fell asleep, and then they picked it up the next night.
Yeah.
That's what these movies
It
feel
does
like,
feel-
and it's kind of comforting for it to feel like that. The Hobbit feels that way too. That's how I describe the beginning of Hobbit 2: Desolation and Smog. Buy it. Shameless plug to buy it. Just do it. It's an amazing movie.
Wait for the extended version, folks.
Just buy it now. Screw it. But the ending is basically just Sam and Frodo looking at Mount Doom by themselves and saying, "Let's just go."
Yeah.
And that's essentially the ending.
It's just them.
Well,
it's just them.
Yeah,
But I like the battle just right prior to that.
Yes.
It's so good.
Boromir's death is just such a beautiful piece of work.
It's perfect because don't you feel at that moment when he says to Aragorn, like, "My king"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel it.
You feel it.
You're like, yes, he's meant to be the king.
Yeah.
And
Like, I didn't even know anything about the books or anything that was going to happen, and I was like,
okay,
I want it. I want it. That's where you want it
so
to go.
true.
But it's the end of the movie is kind of like, I when I saw Desolation with Smog, people were like, "Oh, I didn't like the cliffhanger." I'm like, it's only a cliffhanger if you've never read the book.
Yeah.
But
that's a lot of people were doing in the theater. I was laughing because I'm like, that ending was
but
boss.
the ending of Fellowship, you kind of what Peter Jackson does so brilliantly is please you with an ending, while at the same time it's kind of like, what? How could you leave it there?
Yeah.
I have to wait a whole year.
Well,
for
the second
this?
one especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I want to see it right now.
I know we're not talking about the ending of Hobbit, Desolation of Smog, but man, that is gotta be one of my favorite endings in film.
Perfect. It is.
It's so perfect. First of all, Smog's voice, Benedict Cumberbatch, you are making me think things that I shouldn't think.
I'm gonna move over here now.
But man, just I am fire, flap, flap, flap. I am death. Black screen, done. I was just like,
what have we done?
oh! And then I'm just like, that was the best thing ever.
Did you just sit there in the theater for like an extra 15 minutes?
Yep.
That's how I know that something amazing's happened.
Yeah.
No,
I
didn't do that at all. I don't know what.
I woke up in the theater the next day, but
as I'm sitting there for the extra 15 minutes, as I hear people getting up going, that ending was bullshit. Or that was
you're bullshit.
Like that what a bad ending. I'm thinking, you're bullshit. You smell funny and your parents don't love you. Like,
you're adopted.
Yeah.
Parents don't even love you.
But yeah, that's what we're talking about. But yeah, it gives you closure. The ending of Lord of the Rings Fellowship gives you closure at the same time wanting you to watch the second one.
Yeah.
Like getting
and I think what I like is we got the sense of the Fellowship of them becoming a unit.
Yeah.
And then what do? They disassemble it. They start to
But they're still
all connected.
And what I love so much is
at
the end, you can start to see a glimpse of a friendship forming between Gimli and Legolas.
Yeah.
You can just start to see it, like when they're all let's not while we have strength left. Let's hunt some more. Can you see Gimli and Legolas kind of look at each other like, okay, we're gonna put our differences aside and go and kill these.
Yeah. But wow, that is gonna do it.
Wait. We gotta talk about our favorite parts.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. We gotta talk about our favorite scenes.
Also, we never talked about the troll, but
we never did talk about the cave troll. But there's the cave troll. That's it. Who wants to go on the favorite part first? I don't care who goes first.
My favorite part was everything in Moria. Everything.
Everything in Moria.
Like it was my favorite part of the book. It was because it was so detailed. It was Gandalf, quote unquote, dies.
Yeah.
And which is just as dramatic in the movie as it was in the book.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful, and seeing the Balrog, and can I just say, I was the dope that did not see Fellowship of the Ring in the theaters.
That sucks.
That sucks.
I didn't. I read the book and I was like, this movie's gonna suck. Nobody's gonna be able to pull this off. And then I got it, and then I got the movie on video. Yes, I know I'm dating myself. I got the movie on video.
I have it on VHS still.
And I watched it and I was like, okay. And to this day, I'm still kicking myself in the ass for not seeing that movie in theaters. But the Balrog showed up, and I'm telling you, there's this shot of Gandalf looking at the Balrog, and the Balrog comes close to the screen, and his mouth opens.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see the fire come out, and I'm like, oh God, just go away.
Fire.
And it's
Oh, yeah.
Shall not
Oh, it's so great.
It's so
Oh.
good.
And when you see the whip coming down to get
Oh,
him,
I
you're just
know.
like, no,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
My favorite scene, of course, is Gandalf versus Sauron.
Yeah.
The wizard battle. Wizards only, fools. My Adventure Time friends will know what that means. But not just because I love wizards. It's in like magic fights. The cinematography in that scene really is something I love because like
And
when
the stunts.
all the stunts and cinematography in it, like there's no like lasers being shot. It's more like force fighting,
Right.
like from Star Wars. It's more like they're fighting with the force, but it still works because like you see like Gandalf just fly up to the ceiling,
Yeah.
and then like he's stuck there, and like he just brings him down, and then he flies through the roof, and then you get that, and then Sauron comes through the roof. And you just get this big wide shot of the whole tower and then you see the spires and like, oh, the Eye of Sauron's gonna be there soon, and you get to see like you knew Gandalf is the greatest. He's a strong dude. Like he's a powerful wizard, and he's getting taken down by this, and it's just so crazy to see like maybe he's not the most powerful wizard, but this guy could beat him, and it's scary.
If you mention that part, one thing that I love in that part is the look on Gandalf's face when he realizes that Saruman has turned.
Yeah. Oh, because the door's closed.
The door's closed, and
he's like,
and Gandalf looks back. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, because he's.
It's like, how could you?
Even the lead up to that fight is just so cool because like he's coming in to like consult the High Wizard. Like this guy is like
he wants guidance.
He's just coming in to seek guidance of like, hey, this ring is found
it's
again.
His mentor.
Yeah, this is the guy that taught him basically.
How could you?
Yeah, and he's just coming in to seek advice. Like, hey, this ring has surfaced again. You know what ring I'm talking about. I'm in this hobbit. He's got his hands on it. We need to know what to do because if we don't get a handle on this, bad stuff's really gonna happen in like a short layman's version. And he's like, I know, like, and then Saruman says, it's like, I know. And then he just goes to this big exposition, and then you see all these doors close around the hall, and Gandalf knows there's something up, and he's just like, oh.
Uh-oh.
And then he realizes that Saruman has turned to basically the dark side, for lack of a better term. For lack of a better term, and you just get this sense of betrayal and lost trust and just fear because this is the guy that taught him to be a wizard.
You also get the sense that Gandalf will lose this battle.
Oh yeah, you knew he was going to lose it, but
like even if you just watch the movies and you haven't read the book, you get the sense like, okay, Gandalf's up shit creek without a paddle.
Because he was scared.
Yeah. Like
he didn't show it a lot until like he was on the ground without his hat. But he was scared.
Yeah.
Like he was like terrified of this guy, and I don't blame him. First of all, his staff is terrifying. Like
then he gets two staffs.
Yeah, then he gets both Gandalf and his own staff.
Yeah.
First of all, I knew I could have picked out the guy was going to be evil just by the staff he was holding, because that's just a Saturday morning cartoon villain staff. But yeah, that's just my favorite scene because it's just
and his
awesome.
Nails.
And his nails was just.
That will let you know right there.
What is your favorite scene?
I have many, but I really like the last battle scene because, like I said, I feel like you start to see them making the connections together, working well together,
right?
And that's when, I mean, you know which way my door swings, but Aragorn is like the most rugged, amazing warrior guy, and he hasn't wanted it. He hasn't wanted the power.
Yeah.
He hasn't wanted.
No, he doesn't give it a temptation
king.
at all.
And he just has this moment where he's just kicking ass.
Yeah,
and he's taking everyone down. And when he takes down the head orc guy,
Urukai. He doesn't have a name, but
he does have a name, but I can't think of it. But when he chops his head off,
that's fantastic.
You're just like, yes.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's time. It's time.
And also,
return to the king, bitches.
Yeah.
You see Boromir's redemption. It's just so.
And it's followed by that scene where Boromir dies.
Yeah, it's just.
Just real quick, I want to mention probably, I think you guys can agree this is a really great scene too. I just want to touch on it because I just love it so much really quick. The scene where they're all together in Rivendell and they're discussing what they're going to do.
Oh, yes.
About the ring.
You see Hugo weaving with the Matrix eyebrows.
Yeah.
The Matrix face.
Yeah. And
the
fact that it's that not only that, the fact in this scene that this one little teeny thing made out of metal can impose such fear in everybody around.
Yes.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
Yeah.
Like he says it as if
Boromir is just like,
more,
no, we're not doing this.
When he says it, you're just like, you guys are idiots.
They spawned countless meetings.
Who's going to take the ring? And everyone's like,
I'm not touching
that. And then
that.
when Frodo says, I will take the ring to Mordor, and then you see the shot of Gandalf just like, he's just like, I've already asked too much of him.
Yeah.
And now he's volunteering to do more.
But then they're like, there's no one else.
There's no one else to do it.
No. Yeah. And you see, I love that they have the breadcrumbs throughout the whole movie of somebody having a moment to be tempted by wanting the ring.
Yeah.
Boromir especially.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. Boromir especially.
Yes.
And just, I don't know. I just liked how you could sense this big presence in that scene with them. Just because that ring was just sitting in the middle. No one's touching it.
Right.
And you could just sense this fear that they all had of just that one thing in the middle of them.
I almost said Dumbledore. Holy crap.
It was gonna happen once during this.
Gandalf wouldn't even touch the ring when it fell on the ground.
He was
in the very beginning of the movie.
It's like nope.
Yep.
He won't even touch it.
Yeah, because and then even when Frodo asks Gandalf. No, Frodo doesn't. It's either Frodo or Bilbo that asks Gandalf to hold the ring. He's like, you do. He's like,
Frodo does it.
Do not tempt me.
Yeah.
He was like, oh man.
Step off.
Like, do not tempt me with that.
None shall pass.
Yeah. And it's just that one thing can just inspire so many things in people. And then when Gimli tried to destroy it with his axe, it just breaks the fuck apart. And he's like, I just bought this.
Oh wait, I got a spare.
Yeah, everyone. I'm a dwarf.
Yeah, and then you'll have my axe. Oh, he has a second one? Okay.
Yeah. But we could talk again, but just like Animal House, we could talk for hours about Lord of the Rings. But we can't because you have other stuff to do and we do too.
We realize you guys have lives.
Yeah, and so do we. But we do love doing this podcast for you guys. And next week's movie is exciting. It's marvelous, if you want to say it like that.
It's fantastic.
It involves...
I can hardly wait for it.
Thank you. I was waiting. I was trying to figure out how to work that in there. But yes, if you couldn't get by our subtle hints, next week's movie is Fantastic Four, not the unreleased 1993 version, which I will make these guys watch soon enough.
There's a reason why it was unreleased.
I'll need to be drunk.
It's
very.
It helps. It helps. But it's the one that came out in the early 2000s with Jessica Alba.
2005.
Yeah, Jessica Alba and all, Michael Chiklis.
Chris Evans.
Yeah,
Captain America.
Captain America, basically. Captain America, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is next week's movie. So look forward to that. Until next time, if you want to check us all out individually, Nate has his blog.
Yep.
You can tell the people's name.
Yeah, it's called Movie Crunches. You can check it out on Blogger if you just go to Google. All
right, and then if you want to check out videos related to superheroes, supervillains, and comic books, check out Mild Mannered Geek. I upload videos every Wednesday. Last Wednesday I uploaded a review of Captain America: Winter Soldier. Go see this movie, please.
Yes, please do.
And then the video after that, I think by the time I upload this, this week's video will be a video about the other Lantern Corps in the DC universe besides Green Lantern. So yellow, black, indigo, those kind. And then Hannah, why don't you shamelessly plug your show?
Absolutely. So my show's Lady Parts. I'm gonna try to post on Thursdays. I think that's the best day to do it. So Thirsty Thursdays, everyone, unite.
Thirsty for Lady Parts.
We could sit here and make seriously. Nate and I can make Lady Parts jokes all day, which I realize defeats the purpose of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, fried green tomatoes this Thursday, and my next one after that will be Blue is the Warmest Color, which is a French movie about first love. happens to be between women, and it's fantastic if you haven't seen it.
I've not seen it. I've
so
not even heard of
that's
it.
what is on deck.
All right, I will put links to everybody's thing
Yes.
in the description here. And since this is going to be on YouTube, leave a comment on. We have a long catalog of movies we're doing
Yes, we
list.
do.
But if you have any suggestions for movies that you would like to hear us talk about, please leave them down in the comments below. And also with leaving your own thoughts about LOTR.
Yep.
Please do. We encourage that because we couldn't get to everything in this podcast, and there could be something that you want us to talk about. Leave it down there.
And please like and subscribe to us too.
Yeah, like, favorite, and subscribe to us, please, because it really helps us out. Like and favorite and subscribe to all of our individual things. Like and subscribe to Lady Parts. Like and subscribe to Mild Mannered Geek, and read the blog and read Nate's blog, because it really does help us out. You just one person and then you sharing it really does help us out exponentially. Believe me, it does. Seriously. But until next time, until next week, this is signing out. This is Eric O'Donnell.
Nate Schaffner.
Hannah Sutter.
And that has been Movie Crunch. Thank you very much for listening, and good night.